Welcome, everybody, to Unbound News Network October 3rd coverage. We're talking about President Trump's COVID updates today, in addition to NBA ratings, jobs reports, the 11th Circuit Court ruling, the Michigan Supreme Court ruling, some other Trump updates that just happened, in addition to the Amy Coney Barrett update as well. We've got the latest. We'll start off by sharing the coronavirus update from President Trump's doctors with you. It's about a 12-minute video, so we will share this now with you. And then we'll provide some of the latest updates that we've heard from anonymous sources, an interesting video of one of Trump's staffers, actually, that may be an anonymous source to the media, giving them this information. In addition to that, we will also provide updates on the White House people currently infected that did attend the Amy Coney Barrett meeting when Trump did the speech, in addition to being inside as well. So there are now a bunch of people that attended that have come down with COVID-19, or at least tested positive, Chris Christie being the latest. So we'll share this video with you now, and we'll get to the analysis after. Thanks for joining us on Unbound News Network. We're challenging the status quo, and we appreciate you being here.
Morning, everyone. Thank you for coming. Dr. Sean Conley, physician to the president. This morning, I'd like to start by first sharing that the president and First Family, First Lady, extremely grateful for the enormous outpouring of support and prayers that the whole world and country have been providing and sharing. I'd like to thank Colonel Andrew Barr and all the medical and support staff here at Walter Reed for their tireless efforts, providing everything and anything the medical team, the president, and I could need. This morning, the president is doing very well. Behind me are some of the members of the president's medical team, whom I'd like to introduce. Dr. Sean Dooley, pulmonary critical care. Dr. Brian Garibaldi, pulmonary critical care. Dr. Robert Browning, pulmonary critical care. Dr. Jason Blaylock, infectious disease. Dr. Wes Campbell, infectious disease. Dr. John Hodgson, anesthesia. Major Kurt Klein, Army nurse. Commander Megan Nasworthy, Navy nurse. Lieutenant Juliana Levopa, Navy nurse. Lieutenant Commander John Shea, clinical pharmacist. And not present with us are Lieutenant Beth Carter, Lieutenant Maureen Meehan, both Navy nurses, and Dr. Jesse Schoenau, director of our executive medicine program. As reported yesterday, consultation with this group, I recommended we bring the president up to Walter Reed as a precautionary measure to provide state-of-the-art monitoring and any care that he may need. Just 72 hours into the diagnosis now, the first week of COVID, and in particular days 7 to 10, are the most critical in determining the likely course of this illness. At this time, the team and I are extremely happy with the progress the president has made. Thursday, he had a mild cough and some nasal congestion and fatigue, all of which are now resolving and improving. At this time, I'd like to bring up Dr. Dooley to discuss some of the specifics of the president's care.
Thank you, and good afternoon. I'm Dr. Sean Dooley, as Dr. Conley mentioned. I'll start off by mentioning how incredibly proud I am of our medical team assembled behind me, and the honor it's been to care for the president over these last 24 hours here at Walter Reed. He's receiving outstanding multidisciplinary care, the state of the science for coronavirus infection. We are monitoring him very closely for any evidence of complications from either the coronavirus illness or the therapies that we are prescribing to make him better. We have monitored his cardiac function, his kidney function, his liver function. All of those are normal. And the president this morning is not on oxygen, not having difficulty breathing or walking around the White House medical unit upstairs. He's in exceptionally good spirits. And in fact, completing our multidisciplinary rounds this morning, The quote he left us with was, "I feel like I could walk out of here today," and that was a very encouraging comment from the president. Moving forward, I'll go ahead and introduce Dr. Garibaldi, who will talk about some of our therapeutics and the plan of care for today. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Dooley, and I'd like to echo the sentiment from the entire team. What a honor and a privilege it is to be part of this multidisciplinary unit to care for the president. About 48 hours ago, the president received a special antibody therapy directed against the coronavirus, and we're working very closely with the company to monitor him in terms of that outcome. Yesterday evening, he received his first dose of IV remdesivir, and our plan is to continue a 5-day treatment course for remdesivir. And the big plan for today, since he's in such great spirits and doing well, is to encourage him to eat, to drink, to stay hydrated, to be up out of bed, and to be working and doing the things that he needs to do to get well. And I'll refer Dr. Connolly to any questions.
Thanks, Brian. It's important to note the president's been fever-free for over 24 hours. We remain cautiously optimistic, but he's doing great. With that, one other note, it should be clear that he's got plenty of work to get done from the chief of staff, and he's doing it. With that, if there's a couple questions about the president's health in the last couple days.
Sir, can you tell us the president's oxygen saturation level, please?
Yeah, so the last saturation that we had up walking around, he was about 96%.
And he's receiving he has not received any supplemental oxygen?
He's not on oxygen right now, that's right.
He has not received any at all?
He's not needed any this morning today at all. That's right. No,
Do you have an estimated date when he might be discharged?
Well, I don't want to put a hard date on that. He's doing so well, but with a known course of the illness, days 7 to 10, we get really concerned about the inflammatory phase 2. Given that we provided some of these advanced therapy so early in the course, a little bit earlier than most of the patients we know and follow, it's hard to tell where he is on that course. And so every day we're evaluating, does he need to be here? What does he need? And where's he going?
What do you see as the probability that he will need supplemental oxygen going forward?
I don't want to put a percentage on that, but right now all indicators are that that he'll remain off of oxygen going forward.
And in terms of like blood clots, pneumonia, bacterial infection, what do you see as the risk on that front?
Well, we know that all of them are risks associated with this condition. He is receiving all of the standard of care and beyond per routine, international COVID protocols. So we're monitoring for all of that, but at the moment, there's no cause for concern.
You said he's fever-free now. What was his fever when he had one, sir?
I'd rather not give any specific numbers, but he did have a fever Thursday into Friday, and since Friday morning, he's had none.
Okay. And what was the date?
On top of the other antibodies.
I'm sorry?
Why remdesivir on top of the antibodies?
So remdesivir works a little bit differently than the antibodies. We're maximizing all aspects of his care, attacking this virus, a multi-pronged approach. As the president, I didn't want to hold anything back. If there was any possibility that it would add value to his care and expedite his return, I wanted to take it. And the team agreed, and that's where we proceeded.
Doctor, what was the date of the president's last negative test?
I'm not going to get into all the testing going back, but he and all the staff routinely are tested, and so.
Doctor, what is the PPE protocol for President Trump receiving visitors and doctors?
It's the same as any hospital has. We have an area that's clean that you put your equipment on, and then beyond that, everybody is fully gowned up, masks, gloves. We're protecting ourselves and him.
Have you done a screen? Has there been any sign of any lung damage whatsoever?
We are following all of that. We do daily ultrasounds. We do daily lab work. The team is tracking all of that.
Has there been any sign of damage, sir?
I'm not going to go into specifics on what the findings of any of that are.
If we just go down on one thing, has he ever been on supplemental oxygen?
Right now he is not on oxygen.
I know you keep saying
That's
right now, but should we read into the fact that he had been previously?
Yesterday and today he was not on oxygen.
So he has not been on it during his COVID treatment?
He's not on oxygen right now.
Has hydroxychloroquine been considered as a viable treatment option for the president?
We discussed it. He asked about it. He's not on it now.
And in
Doctor,
terms of symptoms, has he also experienced difficulty breathing?
No, he has not. Never did. He had a little cough. He had the fever. More than anything, he's felt run down.
who is handling contact tracing? Is that the White House or CDC?
The White House Medical Unit, in conjunction with in collaboration with CDC and local state health departments, are conducting all contact tracing per CDC guidelines.
When was the positive diagnosis made? You said 72 hours. That would put that Wednesday.
Yeah. So Thursday afternoon, following the news of a close contact, is when we repeated testing, and given kind of clinical indications that a little bit more concern, and that's when late that night we got the PCR confirmation that he was.
Is there any clarity on how he became infected?
Not going to go into that. As far as his care, it's irrelevant.
Or when he became infected?
Yeah, we're not going to go into that. We're just tracking his clinical course and providing the best care we can.
Will President Trump have to stay at Walter Reed to get the 5-day remdesivir treatment?
We've discussed that right now. If he needs all 5 days, that will likely be the course. But again, every day we're reviewing with the team his needs for being here. And as soon as he gets to the point where it's not a requirement, he may still need some care, but if we can provide that downtown at the house, then we will transition at that point, as long as it's safe and appropriate and the team agrees.
In addition to his weight, does he have any other risk factors that make him more at risk for sort of a severe case?
Well, not particularly. I mean, he's 74, he's male, and he is slightly overweight. Other than that, he's very healthy. His cholesterol is great. His blood pressure is great. He's not on medication for that. He's up and active. You saw his activity the days leading up to, the long hours and everything else. He's able to handle it.
Can you provide other vitals like heart rate, blood pressure, and temperature?
So his heart rate is in the 70s to 80s. His blood pressure has remained where it's historically been during our physicals. 110 to 120 is a stop. He's great. It's never bugged.
So, who we just heard from is Dr. Sean Conley, the president's personal physician, and he said things like he's extremely happy with the progress the president has made. Thursday, he had a mild cough and some nasal congestion and fatigue. One thing that was interesting in contradiction to this, though, was that there was a close source. It may have been Mark Meadows. There's some speculation that it was, that said the president's vitals over the last 24 hours were very concerning, and the next 48 hours will be critical in terms of his care. We have the quick video we want to share with you that may show Mark Meadows passing that note along to reporters in front of the hospital, and we'll share that with you now.
Okay, so
So you see Mark Meadows there. He says, obviously the cameras are still rolling. And then he says, let's go away from the cameras, or he says something similar to that, indicating that he does not want to speak in front of the cameras, which is definitely cause for suspicion, especially among those who think the doctors are not telling the truth. And certainly there are a lot of those people based on looking on Twitter. And there was another interesting report from the AP that said that Trump has received supplemental oxygen, which is definitely in contrast to what Dr. Conley said during the press conference. Dr. Conley's timeline was also incorrect during the press conference. He said 72 hours in, but he meant to say day 3, supposedly. That's what they released. And then he released another announcement correcting this, and he spelled Regeneron wrong. Regeneron, which I believe is the drug that President Trump is taking. He spelled that wrong in the announcement. So that was certainly, there's a lot of interesting conspiracies floating around right now. I'm not sure if any of them are correct or not, but the Mark Meadows video was certainly interesting, coupled with the fact that you have the report that he has been on supplemental oxygen, but that was Friday, which was before he got to the hospital. And then obviously you have the report, another anonymous report from Reuters that says his vitals are actually very concerning. So it's things like that that are making people question whether or not the doctor's announcement was accurate. And then another interesting thing that I wanted to talk about today is all of the various people in the White House that actually got infected after attending the Amy Coney Barrett Supreme Court announcement that President Trump did just a few days ago. So I'll put that list up on screen here. And we see people, obviously Donald Trump himself, Hope Hicks, who was the original person that we knew had this. Supposedly, she was the first person that we knew tested positive. And now it's spread across different people that were at the Supreme Court nominee announcement. Senators Mike Lee, Tom Tillis, Kellyanne Conway, a former Trump advisor. You have Trump campaign manager. You have Ronna McDaniel, who's the RNC chairwoman. We have Chris Christie. And then we also have the president of Notre Dame. So all of these different people have tested positive, most likely from attending the the Amy Coney Barrett announcement from President Trump. So you have all of these different people are positive, and it's certainly going to create a problem for the Trump campaign. You have all of these different surrogates that are out of commission. And now we're looking at a situation in which it could be even more than just this. But we do know the people that have tested negative are Vice President Mike Pence, his wife Karen Pence, Ivanka Trump, Jared Kushner. Barrett tested negative, but I believe she already has had the virus. Biden, who was not there, tested negative. Jill Biden tested negative. And Mark Meadows, Trump's chief of staff, was another person that tested negative. So we have the 10 people that have tested positive thus far after attending the Amy Coney Barrett announcement. And now we're looking at a situation where it could be more than this, but we're not really sure. We do know that Chris Christie made the announcement earlier that he was receiving treatment, but we weren't sure to what extent that treatment looked like, or if it was a serious doctor visit or hospitalization or anything like that. But Christie did tweet himself this morning confirming that he had tested positive. And it was actually Kellyanne Conway's daughter who leaked the fact that her mother had tested positive. So we have some conflicting reports going around on the. We had some this morning, but we do know that both Kellyanne and Chris Christie are positive with COVID-19. So in addition to that, we do have additional info in regards to who was wearing a mask and not, which kind of debunks the theory that the masks are going to protect yourself. We know that Senator Tom Tillis, who is positive for COVID-19, did wear a mask. And we know that Governor Chris Christie appeared to have a mask on earlier in the day, but he did not while he was sitting down. So, but these people were spread across. Tillis and a couple of the other senators were sitting next to each other, but there were many that were spread far out, like Reverend John Jenkins, who's the president of Notre Dame. He was sitting quite far away from Mike Lee, who tested positive. But Kellyanne tested positive, Melania tested positive, and then you have Chris Christie, who was quite far away from everybody else and did test positive. But it's important to remember that he did the debate practice with President Trump, in addition to former mayor of New York City, Rudy Giuliani, who were training Trump for the debate. So I have an infographic from the New York Times that we'll put up on the screen real quick. Let's share that for you here. So you can see all of the various people that tested positive here on your screen. Those are the people that tested negative. This is where they've traveled to. And that is a good timeline of when the different people tested positive and when they did not. Let's see if I can pull up the other graphic here real quick for everyone. So this is where Trump, this is who he was with, and this is who tested positive. So we see Governor Chris Christie is all the way over there on the right. John Jenkins is kind of in the middle here. Kellyanne is there. Melania is here. Mike Lee. Tom Tillis is there. You can see he does have the mask on, and he did test positive. And then I think, let's see if anyone else here tested positive. No, Mark Meadows was negative. Bill Barr was negative. Mike Pence was negative as well. So it's interesting that Kellyanne and Melania tested positive, and Mike Lee's positive, but Vice President Pence is not. So there's definitely a lot of questions in regards to who may get it, given the incubation period of the virus, and who won't. So certainly cause for concern for the Trump campaign, I think. And with that, we'll move into our next topic, which is Trump tweeted just a little while ago that he wanted more stimulus funding for the government. He supposedly was the one that did tweet from the hospital. We can't confirm that, but that is what he said. So he's wanting more money to go to every American citizen. And this may put Democrats in the driver's seat in terms of getting Trump and the Republican Senate to compromise on a financial stimulus bill. But we do know that the Senate has canceled their meetings until October 18th, but the Amy Coney Barrett hearings will proceed, which I believe are on October 12th. So we will have Amy Coney Barrett hearings in the Senate, but we will not have official Senate meetings, according to Mitch McConnell. So we do know that Trump, according to sources, has had supplemental oxygen on Friday. We do know that the Senate is not going to meet until October 18th, which does make stimulus unlikely, which is what Trump just tweeted about. And we do know that the Amy Coney Barrett hearings will proceed, which is a Senate proceeding. So we do know that that will happen. And all of the people that have tested positive are Hope Hicks, Melania Trump, Mike Lee, Senator Tom Tillis, Kellyanne Conway, Trump's campaign advisor, Ronna McDaniel, Chris Christie, and Reverend Ron Jenkins. So those are all of the people that have tested positive thus far. And it remains to be seen into what Trump's condition will look like. We did have a news update a few minutes ago that Pelosi actually was refusing to take a test to enter the House, which is a new rule they had actually just set up, and Pelosi was refusing to take that test. I believe it was, let's see who tweeted about that. So it's Steve Scalise. He said Nancy Pelosi has turned down a proposal to implement coronavirus testing on Capitol Hill. So it wasn't that she actually didn't take the test. It was that she has turned down a proposal to implement the testing on Capitol Hill. So Pelosi has denied that, which is ironic given that she has been railing Trump over the last day or so for not wearing a mask when she actually went and got her hair done without a mask. She was pictured in that video walking through the salon without a mask on. So in addition to Trump's health updates, the economic growth slowed this week to 661,000 new jobs. We're at a 7.9% unemployment rate. Most notably, it was small employers that are causing the slower growth. They're hiring less and they're firing more. So it's smaller employers that are driving that are the sole cause for the lower job figures. In addition to that, we have the 11th Circuit Federal Appeals Court, which ruled that Georgia voters must return their election day they must return their absentee ballots by election day. It was a 3-panel judge, and they ruled 2-1. So absentee ballots in Georgia must be postmarked by November 3rd and received at county election offices by the following Friday. So this restored Georgia state law. So now we have a bunch of different states with a bunch of different rules, and it certainly is going to be interesting on election night when we have a ton of different rules and mail by this time and that time, and you have all these court proceedings. So I would imagine election night will be a mess because of that, but we'll have to wait and see on that. In addition to that, we know that the Michigan Supreme Court overturned a Governor Whitmer ruling, which was her coronavirus state of emergency. The court ruled 4-3 that her decision to declare this state of emergency without approval from state legislators is unconstitutional. She was using an act, a Michigan act called the 1976 Emergency Management Act, which states that after 28 days, she has to request an extension from the state legislature, and she did not. So she lost the case in the Michigan Supreme Court. She will now have to request additional extensions of her state of emergency from the Michigan state legislature. And this process was initiated through the Michigan petition process, which I believe there were about 600,000 that wanted to have their ballots. So it was 600,000 signed the petition to have the Emergency Management Act overturned, and then this went to the Michigan Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court ruled 4-3 that the law was unconstitutional. So as I said, Whitmer will now have to go to court or go to the legislature in order to get her state of emergency reinstated. In addition to that, we saw the NBA ratings fall to their lowest viewership in history in the NBA Finals. They plunged nearly 50% since last year. It was the Lakers and the Miami Heat. So despite this matchup, the sports fans were clearly not interested in watching game one of the finals on Wednesday. It had a 4.1 rating and only 7.41 million viewers. It was the lowest rated and least watched NBA Finals game on record, which dates back to 1988 when they first started keeping track of that. There was a reality TV singing competition last night called The Masked Singer, which pulled in 6.9 million viewers. So almost tied the NBA Finals. So that's all of the news we have for you thus far today. Continue to follow us on Twitter in order to get the latest updates on Trump's health, which we do know may be in a rather perilous state. It waits. We just have to wait and see. Obviously, if he's at Walter Reed still, we know he's going to continue to do the remdesivir treatment. That's a 5-day course of dosages. I believe it's an injectable medication. So Trump will be on that remdesivir in addition to being on the Regeneron antibody cocktail that he's on. We do know that he had supplemental oxygen, according to sources, which may have been Mark Meadows yesterday. So Trump did have the supplemental oxygen yesterday. And his vitals were so-called very concerning, according to this same source. So we'll have to see if Trump's health gets better or if it declines. It's unsure if he's the one tweeting or if it's, I mean, there's so many conspiracies right now in terms of if it's a cover-up or not. So we'll just have to see and continue to watch the news on Trump's health. We'll continue to provide this news to you via our Twitter at unbound_news. Make sure you follow us there. Make sure you follow us on Instagram at unbound_news. Make sure you follow us on Facebook at Unbound News Network. Make sure you follow us subscribe to our YouTube at Unbound News Network, and make sure you share our live coverages. We're going to have a better live coverage schedule in the upcoming weeks, where we'll have the latest stories, especially on Trump's health. We're thinking of doing a Tuesday, Thursday schedule, myself and other members of the UNN team. Again, it's our pleasure to provide this coverage for you. We appreciate you joining us this afternoon, and hopefully we get some better updates on Trump's health, because right now it's been pretty cloudy. So we'll have the latest for you. Make sure you follow us on all of our social medias. We provide the latest. We're challenging the status quo here at Unbound News, and we appreciate your support. Thank you.